Hey guys, what's up? It's Drew here, and today we're going to be taking a look at resilience, recovery, and mobility, each of those stats, and my opinion or guide for the best way of running each of them and what the importance is of each of those stats. First off, I want to start with resilience because I feel like this is the most factual or least subjective. Very simply, each resilience level counters a different type of weapon archetype. And obviously, when you have a certain resilience level, it's going to counter everything before that as well. Now that we're pretty into Destiny 2 and we have a decently established meta of weapons or most popular weapons, we can take a look at those and see what resilience levels counters the most common weapons used. I made a chart here to represent the most commonly used weapons, which is the lightweight scout, or better known as the Mida archetype scout rifles, precision autos like the Positive Outlook, Number, and Uriel's Gift, adaptive hand cannons like Better Devils and Old Fashioned, precision SMGs, so the 600 RPM ones like the Antiope and others, rapid fire pulses like the Darkest Before, and burst sidearms like the Last Hope. Along the left is some of the different resilience levels. I didn't include all of them, just the ones that had an effect on these very commonly used weapons, and we'll be taking a look at the different resilience levels, of course, that make it difficult and increasingly difficult for these weapons to kill quickly. To start at 4 resilience, we have the Mida archetype scouts that go from a 3 crit 2 body at 3 resilience to 4 crit 1 body here at 4 resilience, as well as the precision SMGs, aka Antiope, goes from an 8 crit 2 body to 9 crit 1 body at 4 resilience. The rapid fire pulses also get countered a little bit here. They go from at 3 resilience, 10 crit 1 body to 11 crit at 4 resilience. At 5 resilience, there isn't really anything countered other than precision autos, which could be a big deal for some. They go from 8 crit 1 body at 4 resilience to 9 crit at 5 resilience. Moving on to 6 resilience, it counters the adaptive hand cannons like the Better Devils, going from 1 crit 3 body to 2 crit 2 body, which is a decent change from 25% to 50% headshot ratio needed to kill. Our precision 600 RPM SMGs go from our previous 9 crit 1 body to 10 crit at 6 resilience, as well as burst sidearms like the Last Hope get countered, going from a 6 crit 2 body time to kill to 7 crit 1 body. At 8 resilience, this counters the precision auto rifles quite well because it takes them from 9 critical shots previously to 5 critical 5 body shots, so this is an extra shot to kill, so it's a longer time to kill overall now. The rapid fire pulses see a similar effect to them, going from 11 critical shots previously to 9 crit 3 body, taking an extra shot. At 10 resilience, this once again hits the precision SMGs, going from 10 critical shots needed to an extra shot now, so a longer time to kill of 7 crit 4 body. Precision auto rifles again get hit by 10 resilience, going from 5 crit 5 body to an extra critical shot needed, 6 crit 4 body. I didn't include them on the chart, although they are popular, simply because they are not affected by any other resilience level, but the lightweight hand cannons at 10 resilience, even though again they aren't affected by any other level, are absolutely demolished by this. They go from taking 2 crit 2 body to 3 crit 1 body for an optimal time to kill, and they actually gain an extra shot, I believe, on the body shot time to kill, which again I didn't include here, but 10 resilience is how you would counter the lightweight hand cannons as well. So which resilience level is the best to be running? In my opinion, it's either 4 or 6. You could also make a case for 8 resilience because it does have some good effects on some popular weapons as well, but 4 and 6 resilience cover the most amount of commonly found weapons at the same time. Not to mention that you won't have to give up too many stats in other areas for 4 or 6 resilience, whereas for 8 resilience and even 10 resilience especially, you'll have to be giving up quite a bit to run that. Personally, to me, 6 resilience is the sweet spot, but of course 4 resilience is not bad either. I'd say that's the bare minimum that you want. The shortcoming of the resilience stat is that this is most effective in one-on-one gunfights. And in Destiny 2, the game is more team-oriented, where you're going to be getting into very few one-on-one gunfights. So as much as this will help you very much in one-on-ones, it's going to be far less effective in team engagements or scenarios. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it has an effect, and it does definitely help, but this is the one shortcoming of going for a lot of resilience. Now let's talk a bit about recovery. Recovery is regarded as one of the most important stats in Destiny 2, if not the most important stat. The reason being is because it allows you to get back into the fight quicker. Or if you catch yourself making a bad decision and you need to back out of it, it's going to be more forgiving of that, giving your health back sooner. What I noticed from recovery though, and we can take a look at the visual here courtesy of Follow Plays. I'll link this full video with the effects of each of these stats in the description. All credit goes to him regarding this visualization here. When I was taking a look at this and deciding what kind of a recovery I wanted to run post-patch after the changes were made, I didn't really see a big difference anywhere between 2 or 3 recovery to 7 or maybe 8 recovery. It seems like the most benefit and noticeable differences from recovery only come from 8 to 10 recovery levels. The difference from 3 recovery to 7 recovery seems almost negligible and not worth the amount of resources you have to put towards it for what you're getting. Even between 0 to 2 recovery, I don't think has a massive difference compared to 7 recovery, but it's still noticeable enough. So we're going to compare 3 recovery to 7 recovery. So this is a freeze frame here of when 7 recovery is finished regenerating health compared to all the recovery levels before it. To specifically compare, 7 recovery starts its regen after taking damage in 2.4 seconds, and it reaches full health in 7.3 seconds. 3 recovery starts its regen in 3 seconds, after taking damage of course, and reaches full health in 8.2 seconds. So the difference between these two stats in terms of when regen starts is less than a second, but full health, there's a little bit more of a difference, about the time of 1 full second. For all the recovery that you'd have to spec, I don't think there's enough of a difference between anywhere between 3 to 7 recovery. Again, I'd even argue that 0 to 2 recovery doesn't have even a massive difference compared to 7, but again, it is still more prevalent than 3 or 4. I said it earlier as well, but even compared to 8 recovery, I don't think there's a massive difference, but it's definitely far more noticeable, I think, than 7 recovery. 9 or 10 recovery, there is most definitely a difference here. And I think my point is here that if you're going to spec for recovery, I think you should be using at least 8 recovery, preferably 9 or 10 recovery, if you really want to see a difference that's worth not running other stats for. So what's the best recovery to be running? I think if you're going to be focusing on recovery, you might as well aim for 9 or 10, at least 8 recovery to see a massive difference, because otherwise I just run low recovery because I don't really see a difference, or a big difference at least, between 2 to 3 recovery to 7 recovery. Finally, we're going to talk about mobility, and a lot of people say that mobility has very little influence and benefit. Personally, I don't believe this is the case, especially in a game like Destiny 2 with a longer time to kill. I think strafing and overall evasiveness is important and advantageous. Mobility increases your movement speed and maximum jump height, which really might not sound beneficial, but I think definitely is. I'm not so much focused on the jump height bonus as much as some people could argue that it's useful. I don't really care for it, but the additional movement speed, specifically for strafing, is very useful in my opinion. Another benefit of mobility is your forward walking speed, which is increased, which some could argue, well, that's pointless because you can just sprint, which isn't affected by mobility. Sprint is not in any way affected by mobility. And I think in some scenarios, walking is more beneficial than sprinting to avoid being caught sprinting and letting your opponent get the first shot. But again, the focus here and the biggest benefit I'd like to show and stress is the strafe speed that mobility allows you to have. The benefit of an increased strafe speed is really hard to quantify. Essentially though, you are maximizing your evasiveness to try and make it more difficult for your enemy to hit their shots and ultimately miss their shots, or at least put more pressure on them to pace their shots and land them slower than you do, resulting in a kill for you. I'm going to try and put some facts and numbers to support my opinion of mobility before we get into anything else. So we'll be quickly taking a look at a graph from an amazing post by Reddit user Crystic on Reddit Crucible Playbook that I'll link in the description. Credit goes to him for this amazing information that details the benefits of mobility in meters per second. In this graph is the strafe speed bonus while aimed down sights at different mobility levels, and as well how lightweight weapons and Mida combo affects this. Compared to lower mobility levels, high mobility moves almost a full meter per second faster. And better yet, you can even maximize this and maximize your stats by running 6 mobility with the Mida combo and get the same benefit as 10 mobility. In terms of how this looks in the game, you can see in this short clip, thanks to follow-up plays again for the visualization, the difference between no mobility and 10 mobility strafing, and that 10 mobility, in my opinion, is noticeably quicker. From my own footage, you can see the difference between maximum strafe speed and low strafe speed in first person as well, and once again, to me, this is quite noticeable. So I think I've proven that mobility has at least somewhat of a noticeable difference and isn't completely useless. But what does this mean? Why would we want to use this over something like recovery, even if recovery's bonus is just slight? Well, firstly, as I mentioned earlier, strafing makes it more difficult for your opponent to land shots with ease, and if they aren't missing, at the very least, it might add some more pressure for them in the gunfight to hit shots accurately. Otherwise, I think the biggest benefit of increased strafe speed is your ability to play in and out of cover and being very effective at this, being able to deal the most damage possible while exposing yourself to the enemy as little as possible. It's hard to describe this, but I'd bet if you tried using higher mobility levels, you will notice that when changing direction, the momentum or movement is far more responsive than using low mobility, and this impacts your ability to play in and out of cover effectively. With high mobility, you can quickly poke out of cover, put in a shot or two, and then quickly return to cover. And when doing this with high mobility, as I mentioned, your movement while changing direction feels more responsive, at least in my opinion, which makes it easier to time your shots when moving in and out of cover and exposing yourself to an enemy as little as possible. At a high level of play, I think this is really important and a good advantage to have over other players. And if you're doing a great job of playing in and out of cover, there's less reason to have high recovery, as you should often have cover and safety to return to very easily. Another thing I really enjoy about high mobility is I find it easier to track targets and make fine movements by aiming with my left stick. Of course, this is definitely more geared towards controller users, using your movement to aim to have a little bit more precision than using your right stick, which can lack precision at times. But nonetheless, using your character's movement and evasiveness to hit your shots more accurately, I think is another thing worth considering when going for high mobility, or thinking about it at least. Anyways guys, that is everything I have to say about mobility, resilience, and recovery, my thoughts, opinions, and information I have to offer on these. At the end of the day, choose what you're comfortable with and what you feel most confident with. I think all of these are very important stats. I tend to lean towards mobility and resilience, but again, it's totally subjective. I hope I provided some information and opinions that are thought-provoking and challenge maybe the norm of what people say to absolutely spec for, and show off some variety in each of these stats and what they have to offer. That being said, this is more of an introduction video to go into a loadout series I'll be doing, talking about different loadouts and variety and all the different loadouts you can have in this game, and how to make your character cater to your playstyle or different playstyles. That's something I'm really excited for, especially since a lot of people seem to think that there isn't a lot of variety in this game, whereas I have a ton of fun with the variety in it, so look out for that in the near future. To close things off, Mystic Dawn 26 is the winner of our emblem giveaway. I won't be doing an emblem giveaway yet in this video, but I'll be doing one in the very near future, so make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see that in a video coming up. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Drew here today, and I'll catch you guys later.